Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, really sharing the stage and this basement with all of you. Very unique moment, I think, for our species, for us as humans. We have a lot of big challenges ahead, and it's not by thinking individually, but thinking as a group of human beings on this planet, as a species, that we can make the right decisions. And so we all came with this very simple question: how do we design a better future, the better future for food? And that's there's plenty of options. We all seen this these days with the Food Tech Week, for instance, all these examples of how creativity is being applied to find better systems to guide people towards healthier, better choices. And when we think healthier, I think we need to rephrase a little bit certain words, like health. If you think only about your physical health, and this connects with what Ed was saying earlier, you're only thinking about a little part of the problem. When you think about your health, you should be thinking about the health of the planet as well, because that's basically, we're part of it, we're standing on it. It's a very beautiful piece of rock just floating in space at an unknown speed around the sun in hopeless gravity. And that's where we are right now at the moment. And this is the only planet that we have right now. And if we don't keep it safe and healthy, well, we won't be healthy and we'll probably go extinct, which is not, some people said, I heard not long ago, like, if humans came to disappear, all life on Earth would flourish. If bees came to disappear, all life on Earth will disappear. So, yeah, let's just think about that and how lucky we are to be the conscious and the most, hopefully, intelligent form of life on this planet. And as I said before, it's nice to redefine certain words. So I'm going to ask you to think for a few seconds about that word, civilization. What does it mean to you? Do you consider yourself being civilized? This is the definition of the dictionary: the stage of human social development and organization which is considered most advanced. Do you think now that the Western world, or the Western model, is the most advanced form of civilization? Ed was talking pretty brilliantly about that this morning, and probably the answer is we still have a lot of work to do. This is food. This is the beginning of the whole story of what food is. Food is energy. It's the energy that fuels humans. It's the energy that fuels civilization. Without energy, there's no movement. Without energy, there's no life. And this is one of the miracles that this planet, this biosphere, managed to achieve: photosynthesis. So we take photons that travel 150 million kilometers from the sun, and they go and interact chemically with this biological platform, and they become a condensed form of energy, glucose, that can then be eaten by an animal. Well, before that, you need to cut a few trees so you can, instead of having a natural photosynthesis and natural biodiversity, you need to clean everything very well so you can plant only one crop. And then when you have all that, food to feed basically cattle and pigs and fish, you get, these machines that are burning fossil fuels to really produce a lot of that energy to then feed these guys, well, before that stage. And that is the fuel of civilization right now. There's quite a few being killed as we speak by machines. I don't know if you've thought about that. I have this very short story. I was living in Italy for a while, and pig is very important in northern Italy. The pig culture, the salami culture, and the cotechino culture, which is, if you don't know cotechino, you don't know what salami is, really. These guys, so I met a guy one day, and he taught us how to prepare a pig from scratch. 4 a.m. he's relaxing, and then at 11 a.m. he's all hung up and very well respected, very well treated, killed by hand. And that is the way it should be done. Now, at some point in the 70s, there was so much demand for meat that the guys doing the sacrifice of the animals couldn't stand it anymore. It was too much. It wasn't humane to kill as much animals per day just to feed the system. So they found techniques to make machines kill animals. Let's just think about that. And I don't think it's right that we allow machines to be killing, just as we see drones, shooting people, or well, not shooting people yet, but already shooting guns. Well, we're already doing that with animals. And then those animals go wrapped in plastic, and then that plastic ends up in some kind of islands. This is a picture from somewhere on our planet. One of our quaternions there swimming in a pool of trash. There's also mountains of trash somewhere. We don't look at that now. Try not to see it every day. And then the trash gets, mixed with the wildlife, with the most beautiful forms of life in the planet, millions of years of evolution, that go and believe that those floating little white blobs are food, because that's what they've been evolved. They evolved to see those white blobs as food, and but they're not food, and they eat it because that's what their sensors, their sensory systems evolved to do. And then, well, human behavior sometimes can only be changed when something happens to you personally, not when someone else told you a story. But I'm going to tell you a story. I met this turtle agonizing on the beach not long ago. And not knowing what it was, well, she was clearly agonizing. We tried to put it back in the water, but she didn't want to go back to the water. She ran away, and we knew she was going to die. So we took it to a veterinarian, and he told us, well, that turtle ate trash, and she just surrendered. She didn't want to leave anymore because she couldn't eat anymore. She had trash in her intestines. So, looking at that turtle that is now back to her natural environment, probably swimming among more trash, but maybe she learned now, hopefully. That's the status quo. That's what's happening right now. Every time you buy pork wrapped in plastic, or anything in plastic, really. Have you used plastic today? At some point in your food? Maybe? Maybe that's going to end up in the sea. Who knows? This guy I met is a professor, an indigenous professor from the north of Colombia. He lives in the mountain with 75,000, in a community of 75,000, probably one of the most advanced civilizations I have been confronted to. He defines civilization as a form of organizing humans that is respectful and that lives in harmony with nature. And he says that we take a lot from the planet, and we also have to learn how to give back. That's something that we have not many options to give back on a daily basis here in cities living. How do you give back? How do you thank Earth for what she's giving you, for what she's putting on your plate? And of course, all the people that work to get that food to your plate. So that's the definition for me. So what do you do? How do we become more civilized? How do we become more advanced? How do we evolve as the actually intelligent matter of this planet and try to make something good out of the fortune of being alive and being able to design experiences for other people as well? Right now, this is what civilization looks like. We're completely consuming the planet. This is a fact, and one of the biggest challenges is actually global warming. I'm reading a book right now, and the woman who wrote it, a journalist, she says that maybe, there's going to be the Third World War if it's caused, and a big extinction of humankind would probably come from wars caused by global warming and displacement when the sea level rises. So this is what I thought as a cook that I could do. We all need to be putting our little grain of sand. So I studied culinary arts. Right now I'm doing research on the senses and how we perceive food to try to understand a bit better on how to design the ones for the future, for the present rather, because the future seems like something that's never going to arrive, right? So how to understand what drives our consumption behaviors is essential. We are cooking apes. When we discovered fire, or when we got the power, the control over fire, about, some say, between 1 and 2 million years ago, that's what gave us the power to become the biggest predator of the planet. We found ways it's like a pre-digestion, basically, cooking. You digest the food in the pan, so then you can absorb more energy. Your gut can absorb more easily energy. And then you have more free time because you're not chewing leaves every day, all day long, sorry. You have more time to develop language, culture, arts, and all the rest that makes us human. Now that's the modern cooking ape. That's Auguste Escoffier, one of the guys that all chefs that have studied maybe or been in touch with French cuisine, that's the guy who designed the kitchen as it is today. And that guy inspires, of course, some of the leading guys today, like the three that Daniel was talking earlier, the big influencers of the food system, because they also design, and that's actually how 3 Michelin-star restaurants fund part of what their income is, designing foods for the industry. So those guys have a really big responsibility. And it's like the Formula One. Formula One, you know, they put a lot of input and a lot of effort into designing the most energy efficient ways of transporting, of creating vehicles with engineers and all that. In the kitchens, in fine dining kitchens, the same happens. And then, 10 years after, you find technology advancements that make the cooking techniques more simple to achieve at home, better flavors, more deliciousness in our plates every day. And that starts at the pinnacle, in a way, in the culinary arts. And this is something that inspires me a lot, and written by the professor with which I'm doing research right now. And he says that optimal design will increasingly come from reverse engineering the processes of the mind. If we understand how we perceive, we can better design. This is the guy. He says that food is where all the senses come together, and he's a sensory scientist, a psychologist. And he says that if basically we study food perception, it's an amazing way to understand how the brain works and how consumer behavior, well, let's say human behavior, is modeled. And flavor is a very complex thing. Actually, the brain dedicates most of its resources to 2 things. 3. One is finding energy, food. The other one is finding a mate, reproduction. And the other one is social interaction. That's when the brain lights up more parts, is when it actually is dedicated to one of those 3 activities. And one interesting thing that's been proven in the past years is that food is something that comes through all the senses as well. And pleasure in food, deliciousness, what drives our cravings, is modeled by the 5 senses. As you saw earlier, this great performance by Bittersweet, it's kind of a new art form in a way, try to touch and play with 5 senses, something that even not all chefs are thinking about. And we're definitely not all thinking about that when we cook at home, and that's important because you can design better things, make the healthier foods for you and the planet more pleasurable by designing for all your senses. And this other scientist from Oxford says that the principle of pleasure and the fundamental rewards for food, sex, and conspecifics may well be evolution's boldest tricks by driving hunger, by driving what we desire in our lives. So understanding pleasure is probably one of the most important things. Let me give you a short example. So you see all these ingredients, all healthy, no meat. Sauces, like there's lemongrass and cauliflower puree down there, some broccoli, avocados, blah, blah, blah. That's a healthy meal for a kid. But if you present it like that, he's probably going to try 2 or 3 things and let it go. If you present it like that, and that's all the mix of the ingredients, it doesn't look very sexy at all. I don't desire that thing. That's the normal way of presenting a salad. You just toss everything and put it in the center of the plate. But now let's put a little bit of aesthetic to that. Let's put a bit of beauty to that. Let's get inspired by an artist, for example, or just by studying a bit more about how the brain perceives beauty. And then you get this salad with the same amount of the same ingredients. Which salad do you think your kid is more likely to like, to enjoy? We did a study with these 3 presentations of food and the artistic inspiration, and we found that people enjoy more the food, so it's more delicious when it's presented aesthetically. Art can make food taste better. That's one way of putting it. Maybe it's because we see that there's more effort put into it, so more human effort, more skill into it, and then we enjoy it more. So our brain combines that skill and kind of artistic, aesthetic part into the experience of flavor. But that only tells us about pleasure. And this guy, Aristotle, said that happiness is the greatest of human endeavors. And I think we all agree that the most important thing to each of one of us is to be happy and to have the people around us happy, living in happy communities, happy tribes. We're tribal, species. We are evolved apes, cooking apes, talking apes. but we want to be happy, just as any life form wants. And he said that two components of happiness were hedonia, the realm of the senses, the realm of pleasure, and that's something that we need to understand better, and eudaimonia, meaning, fulfillment, a sense of meaning. And that's, I think, what could inspire some food designers, experienced designers out there, is to give more meaning. And I think that connects with some of what certain speakers have been talking about earlier. This is what drives the planet, money, in a way. But, well, money by itself doesn't do much. We have money on our pockets, and every day we consume. Every day we choose to vote for a certain organization of the food system. Economy is the careful management of the available resources. The planet has plenty of resources. We live in the age of abundance, the beginning of a new era in human evolution, the Anthropocene. They started to call this era the age of men. We're starting to define the fate of this planet, this beautiful planet, and all the life that it inhabits. So, are we being careful about how we manage our resources? We're not. Every day when we eat, 3 times a day, we vote for a certain organization of the food system. And I think by choosing wisely what we put in our mouths every day, at every meal, are you gonna drink that water from plastic bottle? Are you gonna choose to eat meat over vegetables? Are you gonna, I'm not saying, I love meat as well. We're designed by evolution to love it. But I really like the idea of being, for example, a weekday vegetarian. Or, and even experienced designers, restaurateurs, they should be thinking of not having meat on 80% of their menu as a default because people want that. They should start changing and putting more vegetables, making them more delicious, applying more creativity to the things that are healthier for the planet. And I really think that with every bite of deliciousness, if we put meaning into it and we choose wisely, we can shape a better world with our mouths. Thank you.